Hey, good evening and welcome to drinknectar.com. I am your host, Josh Wade, and this is the internet's place to explore the five senses of coffee and wine. Today I wanted to do a little bit of a different episode. It's obviously the Christmas season. We've got the house all decorated. We've got the tree finally up and changed locales, and wanted to wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'm sure we'll be talking to each other several times between now and the end of the year. But a lot of times we find ourselves this time of year out at holiday parties. We're looking for Christmas gifts for our friends, and wine is a really good gift to give to friends, especially to our wine-loving friends. And sometimes we want to give them something where it looks like we know what we're talking about, and other times we're just so uncertain about what to expect when we walk into the wine shop. It can be intimidating. So what I decided to do today is pick out a couple French wines from the Cote de Rhone region of southern France, and we're going to go through these because they're affordable, but the labels can be intimidating. They have words we have a difficult time pronouncing. So we're going to jump in. Typically in southern France, in the Rhone region, you'll find some varietals that you're familiar with. They produce Grenache and Syrah as some of their main components of reds. Roussanne, Marsanne, and Viognier, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, as one or several of their white varietals. So tonight we're going to taste a couple wines. We're going to taste, and pardon me if I butcher any of these French names, we're going to taste the Paul Jaboulet Année, the Cote de Rhone, their 45th parallel, named after the parallel line that goes through some of their vineyards. And then this one here is the Domaine de Couronne, also in the Rhone region, Cote de Rhone. So we're going to taste both of these. We're going to do side by side so you can get kind of a visual of them both. Both of these are 60% Grenache and 40% Syrah. I picked that so we have an equal footing to go with. The difference, though, is that the Paul Jaboulet is a 2006 and the Domaine de Couronne is a 2007. That's probably Couronne. Domaine de Couronne. Anyway, I did take French, and I apologize to my grandmother, who is part French and studied French, if she happens to ever watch this. So we have on this side the Paul Jaboulet. You can see the color here. I'm not sure you get as good as what I get out of it with the lighting. It is actually quite kind of a garnet, ruby red, slightly opaque. I definitely can't see all the way from bottom to top, but it does have a decent color to it. It's not cloudy. It's well made, well filtered. Mild legs, so not a lot of acidity, not a lot of high alcohol. They're both 13.5% alcohol. The Domaine de Couronne, you see that coming through there is the color. This wine is slightly darker, but it's also a little more on the ruby side, just from this particular vintage and this particular area of the Cote de Rhone. Let's give this one the sniff. You swirl it to let the aroma come out when you're doing that. Yeah, actually, I'm getting a very kind of earthy, musky sound, like a basement smell out of that. And then after that, you do start to get the berries that come through. But the very first thing, unfortunately, that come through is kind of that musky earth basement. Is kind of the best way to describe it for those of you that live in the Northwest and have basements. I'm talking about they're kind of wet. A little bit kind of a paper smell. Alright, so let's give it the sip. This is an interesting tasting wine. It's still finishing right now for me. On the front end of the palate, it's more creamy, but it doesn't have a lot of flavor to it. It's actually kind of flavor challenged on the front, and then on the back side, when you're swallowing it, the back side of your tongue, it's very chalky, a lot of minerality. Wouldn't be something that I would particularly care for on a regular basis by any means. Give it one more sip. Yeah, I'm not feeling this one at all. Very chalky and very earthy. Not a lot of fruit. You would think with a 40% Syrah you'd have some strong fruit coming through on that, but just not feeling it on that one. Let's give the Domaine de Rhone a try. So going with the sniff here. Definitely still tight on the nose, but not musky and not dirty. Kind of a cherry coming through. Really, other than the cherry and a slight kind of oaky cedar coming through, there's not much else off of this nose. That's the sniff. Let's give it the sip. That one is a lot more pleasing to drink. There's more fruit on the front end. It still has that chalkiness on the back end. It might be just indicative of these particular lower make. They're lower quality, not of the highest quality out of that area. Interesting, that last sniff that I did get kind of a wet stone out of it. This one, I would certainly consider this one to be one if you're wanting to get a French wine, maybe to impress your friends that you knew a little bit more about wine. I certainly would say that the Domaine de Rhone would provide a better tasting experience than the Paul Jaboulet. And you just have to really point out that this is the Paul Jaboulet and this is the Parallel 45, which is kind of a lower end model, if you will. The Chevy as opposed to the Cadillac, or the Toyota as opposed to the Lexus, if you will, on the wine styles. So this particular label, if you see this one in the store, you want a Christmas gift to take to a party or something to give away to a friend, I certainly would recommend this as being a French wine that you could do. Both of these wines are available for $12, affordable, $11 and $12 actually, so super affordable. It gives you a new tasting experience that you can try without spending a ton of money. So I would certainly go out and look. I want to encourage you guys. Life is always meant to be enjoyed with friends, and there's nothing better than enjoying your life with friends over a glass of great wine. So as you go out and enjoy this holiday season, make sure you're enjoying some great wine with friends. And I always want to remind you to drink happy.